All right, what's up, my ninjas? We have Jeff Chan here. He is the owner and founder of MMA Shredded, a pro fighter with one championship and tons of fights, tons of knowledge in the fight game itself. And I'm happy to have you as a guest, Jeff. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I want to start right at the beginning, Jeff.
Sure.
How did you get started in martial arts?
In martial arts in general, I've always been an athletic kid. So, I played sports when I was younger, and I always was that kid who would play fight, and I'd be the guy in the back of science class and play fight with the hockey players. And one day, my friend just brought me into the gym, and I just literally treated it as a sport. As like a hobby, and that's where it started.
Yeah. Okay. So you started pretty young too. I read on your background there.
Yeah, I started, I believe, around 15 or 16. I can't even remember. I think it was end of 15, turning 16.
Dude, I know there's a stereotype of us Asians that all of us already know Kung Fu and karate and stuff like that. But you were athletic to start with.
Mm-hmm.
How did your family, I don't know if you came from a traditional Asian household, think about you going into a fighting career?
They were definitely very against it. And although my parents are very Chinese, and we have traditional culture. It wasn't until I started seeing results with my business before they are more open to the idea. I never trained Kung Fu when I was younger. In fact, as you're saying there, I did receive a lot of racism when I was younger about Kung Fu. So I love to play fight, and although I wasn't doing Kung Fu, I would have these friends or other kids bullying, saying oh, Kung Fu, this and that. So actually, throughout my martial arts career, I've always been very against Kung Fu because of the racism. So I've always told people, hey, I don't do Kung Fu, I don't do Tai Chi, I don't do Taekwondo or karate. I do, Muay Thai, I do wrestling, I do Jiu-Jitsu. But as I become more of a mature martial artist, I'm starting to become more open-minded.
I think we just lost Jeff there for a second. I'm going to fill in the void with this. Wait till he gets back at it. Jeff, I think I lost you for a second.
No problem. Did you want me to repeat that?
Yeah. If you could, please.
Do you know where I left off at?
You were against doing Kung Fu and all that stuff.
Okay. So, obviously when I was younger, I already really liked, play fighting and training martial arts and fighting in general. And people would always, not bully, but they would bug me and say oh, Kung Fu, or you do Kung Fu. And
Right.
Because of that, when I was younger, as I started training martial arts, the first martial art I picked was Muay Thai. And, I would always stick with just Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu and really be closed-minded of other martial arts just because of people calling me Kung Fu fighter, this and that.
Yeah.
But now, as I'm becoming more of a mature martial artist, I'm seeing that all martial arts actually do work. It just depends on who's using it and how good you are at it.
Right. That initial, prejudice that you kind of felt, would you say that kind of fueled you to pick up fighting, or kind of were you always did you always have it in you?
I think I've always had it in me, but I feel like it pushed me towards picking more Western martial arts like boxing and kickboxing, Muay Thai.
Right. Okay. Very cool. So take me through this now. You start picking this up as a new hobby, as a new sport, and you start racking up wins.
Mm-hmm. So my first coach was Crew Jeff Harrison. I don't know if you know of him. He's from Cambridge, so it's close to Toronto. And he moved down to Ottawa, and he became my first coach. And he kept calling me Masato, Junior Masato. I don't know if you know Masato.
Yeah, Masato, K1.
Because at the time I had my dyed hair. So he'd call me Masato, and he'd always just say man, you're good. You should fight. And I just took one fight after the other. And eventually I got to a point where he's like, you should fight pro MMA. And I didn't have any jiu-jitsu experience at all. I was a white belt, less than a white belt, because I had no jiu-jitsu experience. And I literally fought my first pro fight with no jiu-jitsu. And Crew Jeff told me at the time, you're gonna knock him out. Your striking is there. We'll work on the jiu-jitsu after. so that's how it happened. I took the one fight without any jiu-jitsu experience, and I won by TKO in the first round. And
Nice.
of course, my second fight, I fought a wrestler. He took me down and submit me. And that's
Oh,
when
yeah.
I decided that I need to work my jiu-jitsu before I take another pro fight.
You got to work the ground game a little bit.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the reasons why I couldn't continue on. It was like I like the stand up. Getting on the ground wasn't my thing, but I guess if you're competing, you got to be more well rounded.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Very cool. So talk to me now about this business that you've gotten, because I mean, getting into fighting was the start of this. You started with the fighting, but then you've transitioned to this online business now, MMA Shredded.
So, I mean, I never had a plan on starting an online business. I've actually always wanted to get into law enforcement, and I actually spent 8 to 10 years of my life getting into law enforcement. Like I studied criminology, police foundations. I did a lot of schooling, volunteering to get into law enforcement. But of course, during that time, it was very difficult to get in just because of my age, experience, and lots of other reasons. But I've always trained martial arts, and I've always been competing while I was in school. And I also wanted to train martial arts and get better because that would be an asset to, like a credential to becoming a police officer.
Right.
And during that time, I moved to Toronto. Actually, yeah, I moved to Toronto for the 2 years for more law enforcement opportunities, because Ottawa is small. They have like 2 police services. In Toronto, there's tons, right? In the GTA. So I was applying to all these jobs. I was working for Brinks at the time, and couldn't get in. And then there's a guy named Sean Fagan, the Muay Thai guy. I don't know if you, okay, you know him. Yeah. He held his first like training camp in Thailand, and a friend of mine said like, "Hey, we should go together." So we went, and I met Sean. He's a really cool guy, and he essentially inspired me to start my own channel. And I actually used his camera to film my first few videos. Like he's in my first few videos. Oh, and wow. Since then he's became like a mentor to me.
Okay, cool.
And
so very early on, you like before all of this, you had a mentor that was already in the space, and that's kind of what inspired you to start it.
Yes, exactly.
Did you know which? Sorry to interrupt. Did you know which direction did you wanted to go with this? Like, or you just kind of just threw it out there?
He threw it out there. Oh, yeah. So I was telling you earlier, off live, but I didn't come up with the name MMA Shredded. Sean did actually. So when I met Sean, I hung out with him a lot after training, and he lived a lifestyle where he had an online business, and he loved his life. He just trained and taught Muay Thai, and then I was like, man, it's awesome. I can't believe you're doing that. And he's like, hey, you can do that too. I'm like, really? I can? He's like, yeah, you can. You should definitely. And then he came up with the name MMA Shredded, and gave me ideas. And the idea was to choose.
All right, Jeff, we just lost you there for a second. All right, you're just saying he taught you to choose?
Yeah, and then he didn't teach me to choose, but he was telling me that, hey, you should go to the fitness route because it's a huge market. And that's why he helped me pick the name MMA Shredded. But then it turns out that I'm still doing fitness, but more so on technique and whatnot.
That's right. Yeah, you got like I checked out your YouTube channel, over 200 plus videos and like over 200,000 subscribers. Was there a point in business where you started to like when it started to pick up and you're like, holy crap, this thing's actually going to work?
Well, yeah, actually, last August was when I believe last August was when I completely quit all my jobs and just 100% in with MMA Shredded.
Nice. So you're doing other jobs before you even while you were launching this business?
Oh yeah, I was working Brinks at the time. I was working security hospital. I was a police officer for a short period of time. And then after that, when I didn't completely just quit right away, I decided to work as a server while I continued to work on the business. But I moved back to Ottawa to save money, live at home during that time.
Right.
And
So you actually got into police then? I was
a special constable. I was a special constable in the university. So I had a peace officer status, but I wasn't an official. I mean, they call us a police officer, but I'm a university police officer.
Yeah. Okay. And you were talking to me earlier about this too, is like we were saying traditional Asian parents, they like get a steady job. And how do they feel about this like switch to getting rid of this steady income that you would have received and going online?
Well, I mean, first they were very unhappy about me dropping out of accounting. I didn't mention that I started with accounting. I was in business first.
Dude, that's like the stereotypical Asian job.
Yeah, but that's not me at all. I suck at math, and yeah, so I dropped out of business after 2 years, and I didn't know what I want to do, so I went to law enforcement. I mean, law enforcement is like a career where it's adventurous, so you would think it requires like combat skills, and you help people. That's the main thing. I like helping people, but I would say the main reason is I didn't know what I want to do. And that's what a lot of people do when they don't know what they want to do. They go into policing or the military, at least for the athletic guys.
Yeah.
So then I went to law enforcement, and they were very happy with that because a police officer position is it's a good status.
Yeah.
It's conservative, good pay, and then
you get a good pension too.
Yeah, and then when I switched out of that, there's a lot more that happened in my life which caused me to leave law enforcement. Things that I'm not ready to share yet, but my family, they weren't too sure about online business. They still don't really understand it right now. But now that I'm seeing more results, now they believe in it.
Right. So you were just saying last year, August is when you got rid of all your jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was that point that you said that, what gave you the inclination that like, oh man, this is going to work. I got to go full time into this.
So one big thing would be what happened in my life at that time. I had finally cleared it and I was finally like out of it. And yeah, I was out of it. So then I was able to, I know that doesn't really make much sense, but another reason would be because I had planned my first training travel camp, and that would be the start, because for me to host a camp around the world or across the world, I would have to leave my job because I was gone for 4 months. So that was like, okay, if I'm going to start this path, I need to leave. I can't, take 2 weeks vacation off or a month of vacation. I was gone for 4 months.
Cool. So you actually started your own travel and train camp.
Yeah.
How many times you want to talk about that? Was that the start of the business side of things?
Yeah, well, that was one of the ideas, and I learned that from Sean because he also hosts camps in Thailand. But mine's, I nuanced it. Mine's an MMA training travel camp. So basically, I've had 2 camps so far. I was supposed to have my 3rd one in April, but due to COVID-19, I had to cut my vacation short and head back to Ottawa. And it's awesome because, as I just said, I call it a vacation, even though it's work. But I basically host a camp for 2 weeks, and we'll be training twice a day, every day, with whoever attends. I'll be running the classes twice a day. And then after we train, we just hang out, eat together. And it's just an amazing time because 14 passionate martial artists all just come together and meet.
From all different walks of life from all over the world, eh?
Yeah, I had guys from like Germany, Turkey.
Jeff, lost you there for a second. You stopped off at Turkey.
Singapore, the state, just all over the world. And yeah.
That's amazing. Now, when putting out, I know you were kind of motivated by Sean, and he had his Muay Thai guy stuff on. Did you ever feel like, a little bit of like imposter syndrome, in the sense that like, who am I to put this content out there? And if it's actually valid, like, did you ever feel that?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that I don't believe I'm the best in the world. I don't believe I'm even capable of being the best in the world. I believe I'm an average guy. I think there's tons of pro fighters that are way better than me, way more experienced than me. But no, because the stuff that I teach is legit. The stuff that I teach do work, and you don't need to be the best in the world to teach. And of course, at the beginning, I did have a bit of doubt, but you get a lot more love. At least I did a lot more love than I got hate. So that outweighs. So right now, say I get like 100 people saying, "Man, your stuff has helped me so much. Thank you so much." And then I get 2 people who say, "It's like, your shit sucks."
Yeah.
Doesn't affect me, right?
Yeah. Just the numbers make sense to you. So that's great. So that's a great point that you bring up. Like, if your content's good, and and it sounds like you have absolute confidence in your stuff, that even if it goes out there, you're going to get some haters.
Oh, there's always going to be haters. There's doesn't matter how good of a person you are, how nice of a person, or how skilled you are, you're going to get hate. If you're George St. Pierre, you still get hate.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure.
Right?
Yeah, I heard this crazy quote today. It was like haters just I forgot how it went, but anytime you got haters, it means that you have greatness. Because
I think I know what it is. It's I blanked out too. Basically, what they're saying is, sorry, my dog.
it's all good. It's all good.
You know you're doing it big when you get haters.
Absolutely.
And the truth is, at the beginning, I did have a lot more love than hate. As I got bigger and bigger, that's when I saw more and more hate. And
Okay.
you
Just lost you there for a second. I'll wait till Jeff connects back if he can hear me. So you were just saying, Jeff, in the beginning?
So I was saying at the beginning, there's definitely much more love than there is hate.
Mhm.
And as you get bigger, you start to see more hate, of course.
Yeah.
But it doesn't affect me too much. I think someone who has the time of the day to leave a hateful comment, they're probably not in a happy place in their life. I truly believe that.
Wow. So you use empathy to kind of drown out all the haters.
Definitely. And the thing is, I didn't get this for myself. I watched a lot of other guys who are big on YouTube, or like, do you know who Gary Vee is?
Yeah.
You must know Joe Rogan. I mean, any guy who's made it or has a decent following on YouTube or any type of social media platform, they'll have like a podcast at one point in their life where they talk about hate, and everyone does the same thing. It's like there's always going to be hate. There's no matter what you do. Here's a perfect example. I've been training my mom because I've been under lockdown.
Yeah.
And I made a video of me training my mom and her progress, and I would say the ratio of love to hate is 10,000 to 1. And that one person, you know what he said? He's like, your mother is stiff as a billboard. I would snap her in half. I'm like, really? Come on. Like, I hope you get some help.
There's nothing better to do, man.
Right.
Okay. So I think that's like a lot of fear of, like, I think people getting into business and fearing the amount of hate, but like, it just goes to show, like I said earlier, if you're putting out good stuff and you have confidence in yourself, like you'll get the love if your stuff is good.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Definitely. I think also one of the biggest things that I preach is being genuine. Like I've never told my audience once that I'm the best or that I'm great. I just show everything. So I'll show my failed attempts. I'll show the successful attempts. And I think being genuine will work out in the end.
Right. It shines through because people can read through the BS, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you, now different parts. I want to talk about your business because you've grown a huge following. I was saying 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. You got like 200 plus videos. Now you started with the training camps, and now you have online programs as well, right?
Actually, no. I started with training programs.
Okay.
And then as I started to see more results from there, and as I started to get a bit of an income, then that led me to be able to leave my job and then start traveling and hosting camps. Yeah.
Okay. So you waited for a little bit of income to come get it. Now, like, what would you say to somebody like getting started in the online business? What would you say like a big fail forward of yours was when you first started? Like, it was a huge failure, and you could talk to yourself like 3 years ago, don't do this mistake, Jeff. Do this instead. What would you say?
It's hard to say because my videos used to suck. Like they used to be very bad, and I look back at some of my old videos and they're so embarrassing, and like I want to take them down actually, but every time I talk to somebody who's in the same industry, they tell me, don't. It's ancient. You know, you'll.
I just lost you there, Jeff. So just so you know where you left off, you saying don't take it off. It's ancient.
Yeah. Like it's you're gonna want to go back and look at your old videos and see how much you've progressed, and your following will want to see how you've progressed. Or say someone who suddenly subscribes to me today, looks at my stuff, and then if they go back to my old videos, they like to see the progress. And they're right in the sense that now I can be more genuine in the sense that I'm showing people how I've gotten better. And I didn't start off perfect. I
Right.
started in a very low quality videos. The way I spoke was terrible. I still don't speak the best, but I've gotten a lot better, and they can see the progress, and it shows that I'm human. And
Absolutely.
I always tell people that, I told you earlier, like, I don't think I'm the best. I don't think I can even be the best person, but I just want to keep getting better. And that's the same thing with the business, with the quality of my videos and the content and etc.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about this too, like earlier, about just putting it out there in the first place, because you're going to learn a ton. And I think, like you were saying earlier, about like being more genuine and authentic. By you doing that and leaving that stuff out there, it's like, that's me. That was
Yeah,
me before, and this is me after. And they
exactly.
actually get to join you on that journey too, which is awesome.
Yeah. And the guys who watch everything and stick with you, they're um, yeah,
Well, they're lifelong customers, right? Because
exactly. Yeah.
they've absorbed your content, they've gotten great value from it, and they'll always be repeat customers. So that's awesome.
There's no point in keeping, you don't need to, I guess, try too hard to convince somebody to like your stuff. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't, you know.
For sure. That's the beauty of the internet, right?
Yeah.
Now, so you talked about like you got some income now from the online programming, and then you went into training camps to like go on these work vacations. What do you think is your next step in the next iteration of your business, would you say?
Um, I mean, I would like to get into merchandise. I would like to host more camps. I would like to fight again once the lockdown lifts. I'm actually working on a current project right now, a new program. It'll be basically a full curriculum where you don't need a partner, you don't need any equipment, and they're full fall-on classes. And I basically got the idea because everyone is on lockdown right now, and everyone's doing virtual classes through their gyms.
Yeah.
And
So I forgot to ask you about this, like, because you're signed with one championship. You were telling me that you were gonna give up fighting
Mhm.
until you signed until you got the offer. Talk to me
so,
about that.
so ever since joining the gym to train in general, competing as an amateur, I never wanted to fight. It's just my coach at the time was like, "Hey, you should fight. Why not?" And
Yeah.
I took one fight at a time. My goal was law enforcement. So I'll take these amateur fights because it's going to help me with credentials into becoming a police officer. And then he's like, "You should go pro." And I'm like, in my head, it's not like, "Oh, I want to be a pro fighter." I'm thinking, "Oh, I'm going to get paid for it now, and I can add that to my resume."
Yeah.
And then and that's why I've been training for 13, 14 years. I For a pro record, I only have six pro fights, and I turned pro in 2012. So it's been 8 years, and I only have five or six pro fights. It's actually
Yeah.
not a lot, and the reason is because I've never wanted to keep fighting. I would take a fight here and there. Things weren't working out with law enforcement. I'd take another fight, but the whole time I've always been trying to develop myself as a martial artist. And with that said, um, at that time, I got into law enforcement, and then things happened, and basically it led me to leave that position. And I didn't know what I want to do, so I decided to take another fight. It would help boost the business.
Hmm.
Um, so again, I don't like fighting. I personally don't like fighting because it's stressful.
Yeah.
But I like the grind. I like training as a martial artist. I like trying to get better every day. I mean, I like getting beat up as well, but training for a fight and fighting is a whole different story.
Hmm.
Um, and then another big factor is that my fiance is very against me fighting.
Oh,
And
really?
we actually almost ended because I took a fight,
Oh no.
another fight. Yeah. But then, I decided like, okay, I don't need to fight. I mean, I could keep doing what I love, being a
Yeah.
martial artist, teach online, and do what I'm doing right now. And then, one championship reached out to me, and it was kind of an offer I couldn't turn down.
Yeah, for sure. When a
And
big production like that calls you,
yeah,
how'd you convince the fiance that you're gonna take this one?
um, it's funny because people think that I took it right away. I actually had to take like 2 weeks to think
Oh,
about it before I even took the offer or accepted the offer.
very
Um,
calculated decision there.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So now we're transitioning now to this online business, and you're teaching people online. Would you say that this is like the future of teaching martial arts? Because there's been a lot of hate on people like doing online. I know the Gracie University, all that stuff was done online. They got tons of hate for it. How do you feel about teaching martial arts online?
I definitely think it is effective. It can work, but of course, it's not as good as teaching in person. You can't beat teaching in person.
Mhm.
Um, and regardless what people say, I personally learned a lot through watching fights. That's me learning online. Actually, most of the techniques that I use now weren't taught to me um, from my instructor. I mean, I learned a lot from my instructor, don't get me wrong, but a
Mhm.
lot of what I've used currently is from me watching other fighters. And I actually have a very weird style, a different style at least. Like I come from a Muay Thai background, but people will probably think I have a karate background if you watch me spar. And
Yeah.
that's because I watch other fighters and I take what I like and then I try it. And I guess I'm a visual learner, and that's
Mhm.
why it's worked so much for me.
Like Bruce Lee quote, takes what's useful and get rid of what's not.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. Corny, but it's true.
It truly is. Now, like going back to it, do you feel like you feel online training is effective? Do you think somebody could be a good fighter with just being straight online?
Well, it depends if he has sparring partners,
Okay. Okay.
right? I mean, I learn online. There's lots of people that I currently teach who learn online, learn from me, but they go and apply it at the gym. So if
Mhm.
you learn just online, but you never actually spar with anyone, then I don't know. But for me personally, I learn online and I go and spar and try,
Right.
and I fail many times before I get it.
Right. It goes back to action, right? You can either do the theory, read the books, but
Mhm.
it's all thrown out the window when you're actually doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, one thing I noticed about you, Jeff, like you go to a lot of different gyms and you train, right? And I think MMA has probably evolved quite a bit from that whole like lineage of like, hey, you train with us, this is our secrets,
Mhm.
versus like the whole Ronin style where you kind of just jump, you go from gym to gym. Like, what's your feeling? I kind of think I know where your feeling is on that, but maybe you explain to me what your thoughts on that.
Um, there have been a lot of gym politics at the gym that I train at or trained at before. I don't want to get involved with that, but I believe that you should be able to cross train. I think it's almost necessary. But at the same time, I'm still loyal in the sense that if I'm in my city, I'll stick with my uh, first gym that I trained at.
Hmm.
But if I'm traveling to a different city, why not? And most of these different gyms that I've trained at are overseas. So
Right. Okay. So you're okay with it then? Well, I
I'm
mean,
a,
you're
I'm a very agreeable person, I would say, and I mean I understand both sides of the story, but at the end of the day, I think cross training is better. But even though I think it's better, right now when I'm in Ottawa, I train at one gym.
yeah.
But then if I go to Montreal, I train at TriStar, and then if I go to a different country, then obviously I got to train at a different gym.
Very cool. It's kind of like business. Like I think about it in the business sense, right? Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, there's competition amongst everybody, but I think if everybody shares what they do, their secrets, like all ships rise in a high tide. I think about it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
one, I kind of get the feeling sometimes when some businesses, they'll be like, no, don't talk to this guy. Don't talk to this guy because they
hmm,
want to hoard their secrets.
yeah,
But with you, you're taking what you're learning and you may take it from another gym and you just might put it out there.
yeah. True, true. Yeah. Um,
Have you had anyone ever say anything about that?
no one has called me out on that yet. No, um, but I just believe in sharing. I believe in sharing.
For sure. And it shows because people get great value from it, right?
Yeah.
At
And
the
the
end of
thing
it.
is, there's not much you can't find online if you just browse around. At the end of the day, it depends on how much dedication you put into what you've learned and how many times you practice it. Like, there's nothing you can't find on my channel that you can't find it anywhere else. I think. I don't know.
Yeah,
But even if you learn it from my channel, you need to put in the work yourself if you want to get good at it.
that's true. That's true. It's like business too. If you could relate this to business, it's like there's no secret. Like decrease expenses, increase revenue.
Exactly.
Make sure your accounting's on point, have good marketing. The stuff is out there, but it's when you put it into practice, it's a
Yeah.
whole different ball game based on
Yeah.
like the business, right?
Exactly. And the business out there who are genuine and share and help others, those are the ones that are successful.
Right. And I kind of like I see that in you. You know, you do that with martial arts and you do that with business because you're connected with the business community, which is awesome. I'm going to jump into some questions that were asked. There's one particular question that I got from somebody. We really wanted to ask this question for you. James, he asks, is your stand-up style strictly Muay Thai or do you blend other styles with it?
So I originally, started with Muay Thai. So I would say I have Muay Thai weapons. I use Muay Thai weapons, but ever since watching like Lyoto Machida, George St. Pierre, TJ Dillashaw, Jose Aldo, I kind of, I took what I liked from them and added to my own. So I have a really wide stance for a Muay Thai fighter, and that's because I got it from George St. Pierre. I like to throw low kicks a lot, and I got that from watching Jose Aldo. I got my high kicks stuck in my head from watching TJ Dillashaw and Dominic Cruz. Blitz tactics from Lyoto Machida. So I would say it's a blend of, UFC fighters and Muay Thai.
Nice. Picking up what works and getting rid of what doesn't.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, Jeff. Now, I always like to ask this question. I believe everybody's life is kind of like a kung fu movie montage, or, well, let's say any training movie you could possibly think of with a hero arc where somebody gets beat up, they train and study a secret skill and then get back out there and beat up their enemy that got them there in the first place. Do you got like a favorite hero arc or kung fu action movie? And if so, why?
Hero or kung fu movie? I don't think I do. I don't think I do.
No. Okay.
I might have to get back to you on that. I can't think of it at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, because you didn't grow up traditional kung fu. You hated that stuff.
No. Yeah, I did. I hated it because of the bullying.
Oh, damn.
But again, now that I get older, I'm starting to be more open-minded to those martial arts. But I used to be very closed-minded about kung fu and taekwondo, karate. But now I believe in the effectiveness of it.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, if people want to learn more about you, Jeff, what's the best way to reach out to you?
They can direct message me on Instagram, Facebook, or can leave a comment on YouTube. I literally read and answer every comment, unless it's a negative comment, of course.
You just ignore it.
Yeah.
Awesome, Jeff. Well, thanks for being on the show and sharing your secrets on health, wealth, and being kick-ass. You are a ninja that I say hustles in silence, but kills with success. Thanks for being on the show, my man.
Thanks for having me, Joe.